Attorney General Merrick Garland just announced new charges against 4 Louisville police officers involved in the death of Breonna Taylor.
Earlier today, I spoke with the family of Breonna Taylor. This morning, they were informed that the Justice Department has charged 4 current and former Louisville Metro Police Department officers with federal crimes related to Ms. Taylor's death. Those alleged crimes include civil rights offenses, unlawful conspiracies, unconstitutional use of force, and obstruction offenses. The 4 defendants were charged through 2 separate indictments and 1 information.
CNN's Jessica Schneider is here in Washington with the latest. Jessica?
This investigation into Breonna Taylor's death, in terms of the federal civil rights component, this has been ongoing for a very long time here. There's a large team of investigators. And in fact, Breonna Taylor's mother met with the Justice Department just a few months ago in March, pressing them to file charges against these officers. And in fact, as you heard from the Attorney General today, 4 officers from the Louisville Police Department have in fact been charged. What's interesting is that these are different officers who then those who were on the scene that night of that fatal shooting. There's 1 officer who was on the scene that night. He has been charged for unconstitutional excessive force for firing 10 shots into the side of the building, into the side window that went into Breonna Taylor's apartment and other neighbors. But in addition to that 1 officer, 3 officers who were involved in crafting the search warrant for Breonna Taylor's home have been charged in this. They've been charged with conspiracy, knowingly falsifying a warrant here. And the premise is that they relied on false information that they knew was false to get a search warrant for Breonna Taylor's home. This was an ongoing investigation into narcotics trafficking. And the Attorney General here says that these officers knew that some of the information they put into the search warrant for Breonna Taylor's home was false. Notably, that her house had received packages for the target in this investigation, and that information was actually false. So the basis of this search warrant for Breonna Taylor's home was false here, and that's why 3 of the officers involved in that warrant are now being charged. So really, Dana, this has been a months-long investigation, now resulting in 4 federal charges, 4 officers being charged federally with various constitutional violations. This is something that Breonna Taylor's family has been pressing for here. Mm-hmm. You know, this is really the first big set of charges for these officers. 1 officer was charged with state charges. He was ultimately acquitted, but this is something that the family has been pressing for, and now charges on the federal level will move forward against these 4 officers in the death of Breonna Taylor. Dana?
Jessica, thank you so much for breaking that down. I want to bring in former U.S. Attorney Michael Moore. And as somebody who has been working with the feds, you've been on the federal level pressing charges, obviously, on various cases. That was your job as U.S. Attorney. Put this in perspective.
Well, I'm glad to be with you this morning, and it's obviously good news, I think, for the Taylor family, and a long time coming. It reminds me of sort of the ineptness of what went on with the state investigation. This is information that could have been uncovered early had they verified the information, put into a state search warrant. But when you have the Department of Justice come in and charge a conspiracy case, or really, I guess, lying on the front end about the case and perhaps covering up later, it's a big deal, and it means prison time if convicted for these officers. Unfortunately, I think it's a more common occurrence maybe than we all want to admit, having things put in a search warrant that has not been verified. It's information maybe that somebody said, well, they heard from somebody else and didn't corroborate with the witness. That's always a concern, and in this case, you know, leading to tragic consequences. So. I'm proud to see the investigation has moved forward to this state. Again, I wish that they had done a more thorough job of checking the search warrants, but it's oftentimes the cover-up in cases and sort of the lying and the preparation that catches people when they do wrong, and it seems to have rung true again today.
And as Jessica was saying, only 1 officer on a state level, local level, has been charged with anything relating to Breonna Taylor's killing. who is actually there.
Right.
Is this the end of the road for the federal investigation, or could they go further and focus more on the officers who are actually there?
I think they'll probably go further. Again, this has been breaking as we've been coming on air, so I haven't seen the documents, but it sounds to me like they've got some room to basically flip cooperators to get witnesses to talk, especially if they have a separate accusation and the indictment. That's sometimes an indication that they intend to have a cooperator in a case. I think they'll probably use these people and say, look, you're going to prison. You can tell us what went on. You can talk about statements made after the fact. You may have information related to the sort of the debrief after the raid. We need to hear that as it relates to more specific civil rights cases as we think about civil rights claims, typically with the use of the excessive force of the case. I don't know that anybody in their right mind could have looked at this case and not thought that something wrong happened. And that's part of the frustration with the state. I mean, I don't know how you can even have a cursory or first grade review of the facts and not be troubled by what you see. And so my guess is they'll go a little deeper.